So, hi everybody. Thanks for joining. I hope you're all doing well. You have a great Monday. And today I'm very excited that Martin joined us, who's an MD at Techstars. He is working with hundreds of early stage startups and also has actually built and scaled what is a billion-dollar fintech company. So I'm thrilled we have him here today with us and just gain all of his wisdom and hear from him. So first of all, Martin, thank you so much for joining today.
Hi, Rafaela. Thanks for welcoming me here. I hope I bring enough wisdom to the crowds here.
I'm sure you will. And I know it's also quite late for you. You're calling from Europe. So thanks for taking the time in your evening. We really appreciate it.
Big pleasure, of course. Happy to do it.
And how are you doing? How you are doing at the moment?
Relatively good. We are here. I'm running together with my team, the Techstars Berlin Accelerator. This is very exciting because we're working with really rockstar founders across the world, mostly from Europe. We have next week our demo day, so we're 10 days away. So you can imagine the excitement goes up and we are all quite busy. So yeah, this is always a very exciting moment for us.
Cool. And I'm sure you will be interesting to hear how your startups are doing. We have, as you know, the incubator and the builders club together. It's basically 110 startups that are in both programs. Many of them are fundraising. Many of them really feel the climate being not so easy right now. And will be interesting to also see how your startups are navigating the current market environment.
Yeah, totally. While in the last year, you probably all know this, last year you could have raised on a pitch deck as for students. I've seen these cases actually, for students directly out of university. So not even graduates, raising with a pitch deck on 10 million evaluation. This is not possible, of course, anymore. These days are over. But on the other hand, we are seeing, despite the crisis, quite some early stage investment activity, which is hopeful. And so with a financially sustainable business model, which really solves a pain point, you get money these days, but you need to be very clear on the pitch and be very clear on your North Star.
Okay, and that is obviously what we're hearing about today. So maybe tell us a little bit before we start, how is the format today? I know you brought slides, but I also heard we have to be very attentive because you will ask lots of questions and there's also an interactive element. Is that correct?
Exactly, Rafa. So that's just an offer, okay? So usually we run this North Star workshops in a very interactive way. So if you're not there, you have a startup, in particular in the early phases, pre-seed, seed, and you have questions and you want to refine your North Star so that you pitch better, more effective to investors. This is your moment. So we will ask from time to time questions and give you a couple of minutes to work. You can then inject. Rafa, I understood you would probably paste it in here, right? In the Telegram group, your questions and as well your elements of your North Star. And we then maybe, Rafa, we together can reflect on this and take it to the next level together.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great.
Good. So maybe quickly a couple of words to myself as an intro.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So look, my name is Martin. I'm the managing director of Techstars Berlin. Techstars is one of the largest pre-seed investors in the world. We have more than 50 accelerators globally, a huge network of 19,000 investors and more than 7,000 mentors. So we're acting as a global network, in particular for pre-seed and seed companies. As Rafa said before, I worked as COO of the FinTech N26 in a really decisive moment, which was totally exciting for me. We scaled N26 from 300 to 1,500 FTEs in more than 2 years. I made a lot of errors during this day as COO together with my executive team colleagues. And I then leveraged this experience to write a book and try to reflect on these errors and how to solve them. The book is called The Builder's Guide to the Tech Galaxy. And we interviewed for this book more than 100 international scale-up experts and condensed their knowledge into this book and this section on North Star, how to find and attract, setting an attractive North Star. So that's why you are now hearing the condensed knowledge of more than 100 experts, plus my personal experience. Plus, we refined this approach with more than 100 startups, have given this more than 30 times. So this is now, we believe, a proven concept how to further make your early stage pitch a bit more precise and be more effective in fundraising. Before this, I worked for McKinsey several years, helped McKinsey clients create companies, and before this, I was a founder.
That's exciting. That's really such a wealth of knowledge. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful you're here and taking the time for us. Thanks a lot.
No, big pleasure. One important thing, Raphael, my understanding is we have a lot of Web3 companies here, probably exclusive Web3 companies.
Exclusive, yeah.
Exclusive?
So maybe I think I said already, it's about 110 companies in the Builders Club. Everybody is doing something with blockchain and Web3, but within Web3, it's also a big space. So we have everything. We have people that look at security solutions, at all kinds of NFT trading, analytics, software solutions. We have new NFT drops, like more creative communities. We have metaverse fashion projects. So it is very, very broad, from very, very infrastructure and techy to very creative and futuristic.
Nice. Very exciting. We as well have several Web3 companies here in Berlin. This is what we're now going to do. This is more a Web2 focused direction. However, we are seeing the worlds, the Web2 and the Web3 worlds, coming closer and closer together. And we see this as well in Web3 fundraising, that clarity on direction is really, really helping for Web3 fundraising. I don't know how you see this, Rafaela, but the times, as well in the Web3 space, that you just go in with a lot of excitement and some kind of deck and maybe a white paper, and then you get millions, are as well over. So you need to be a bit more thoughtful when you approach fundraising.
Yeah, that's totally what we are seeing. Investors are very, very cautious, especially when it comes to the more futuristic and metaverse ideas. I think those ideas were very easy to get funding for last year and earlier this year. Now those ideas are much more difficult because because there are very few proven models in that space, and it is still very futuristic. I think those that are working on more the infrastructure side have an easier time at the moment. Also the analytic solutions, payment solutions, I think that's maybe where it kind of converges, because infrastructure payments is then very close to the fintechs of the Web2 world. And obviously, like more and more Web3 companies are also trying to bridge to not just target Web3 users, but also future Web3 users.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, if you want to, we can get going.
Yeah, sounds good.
Super. So let me present my screen. Okay. Is this visible? Can everybody see the screen? Okay, cool. Okay, so topic, as discussed, is setting your North Star for early stage startups, in particular to find funding in challenging times. So this is important. This is a workshop on increasing the odds of fundraising success through clarity on direction. It's not primarily about building a product. Yeah, if you look at a company from a product side, you would do this a bit differently. This is primarily fundraising related. So the clearer you are in your fundraising story, the higher the odds of success to get money in the bank. Okay, maybe let's start with one interactive question in the beginning. When you think about the 3 primary tasks a founding team needs to master both in the start and the scale-up phase, what would this be? And Rafa, you would need to tell me if the delay is too long or if you should quickly wait.
Yeah. So so everybody, those who are watching, maybe you can put it in the pop general chat, what you're thinking. What are the 3 primary tasks a founding team needs to master, both in the startup but also in the scale-up phase. And you can just shoot now. I see some people are typing, but we have a bit of a delay, as you know. So let's give it a moment. Yeah. So we have somebody says building a team. Then somebody says fundraising. Somebody says creating a culture. Then vision, like setting a vision. I think they mean.
Yeah, this already sounds very good and close to the 3 primary tasks. So the first, indeed, I don't like a lot the word vision because it's very blurry, but indeed ensured aligned direction. That's usually one of the key things a founding team needs to have in mind, top of mind.
Aligning a vision.
Say again, Rafa?
That was aligning a vision.
Aligning a vision, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Aligned direction, aligning a vision, exactly. That's certainly it. Then recruit and retain a AAA team. So this is in particular building the best possible team for your current stage, and then have enough money in the bank. So it's always easy to say because as a founder, you have raining on you thousands of problems, but it's really key to again and again make the step back and reflect on these 3 things if you're really on top of these 3. We will talk now about aligned direction. And this is a topic very dear to my heart because I've seen startups being very strong in internal alignment, and I've seen as well startups not being strong in internal alignment. And there is nothing more powerful, in my opinion, than waking up your founding team or your executive team in the middle of the night, and everybody can tell you exactly the same North Star. If you have this, if you achieve that level of alignment, almost everything else falls into place if you fly with a AAA team and if you have enough money in the bank. Okay, so let's now work on this North Star and the aligned direction. Okay, here is a quote from Alice in Wonderland. Alice to the Cheshire Cat. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? Cheshire Cat replies, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to. Alice, I don't much care where, so long as I get somewhere. Well, then it doesn't matter which way you go if you only walk long enough. What's the point of this? We founders are not in Wonderland. We do not have endless resources of time. We need to know where to go, and if not, we can just walk anywhere. Why bother with a clear North Star at all? First, a clear North Star drives growth and profitability. There are ample studies that say if you have a very high purpose scores, if you have very clear dimensions on these North Star, you're twice more likely to be amongst the top performers on total shareholder return. It just drives growth and profitability. 2, a clear North Star helps to attract investments. This is for investors really key. This lack of vision, lack of why is often an exclusion criteria to invest. So when we, for example, as Techstars invest, several of the dimensions we will talk now about are amongst the first question we ask the founders. And then, of course, if you are clear on your North Star, you will attract a AAA team. This is very important, particularly in the early phases where you do not yet have a strong brand and you're dependent that AAA colleagues come and work for you. If you're very clear, if you're inspiring and an attractive North Star, the AAA team colleagues will flock to you. So these are the 3 reasons why a North Star is something very powerful. There are 6 dimensions of a crystal clear North Star for pre-seed startups. First, customer value proposition. 2, future vision. 3, founder market fit. 4, market and monetization. 5, traction. And 6, the ask. We as Techstars and many other investors recommend to have always in the investor long deck somewhat these 6 dimensions covered. And here are the details. So customer value proposition. The customer value proposition has usually 3 sub-questions. Who is or will be your customer? Why does your customer buy from you? What does your customer buy from you? Yeah, these are the features and services. That's the first. Second, future vision, purpose. Why does your company make the planet a better place? And two, what's your business ambition? Market and monetization, in particular relevant in the current crisis. Investors will ask you two questions. First, at least, how do you get to 70 to 100 million annually recurring revenues in 7 to 9 years without capturing more than 10% of your respective market? That's on the revenue side. And they often ask you as well on the profitability side, can you prove strong unit economics, lifetime value over customer acquisition costs? Of course, this is a bit more geared towards Web 2. Web 3, there's sometimes different dynamics at play. However, as Rafa just alluded to, so in particular in the crisis, to be at least in the medium term clear how you want to create revenue and how you get to high profitability is really key. Three other topics: founder market fit. Why you? Why are you the best team in Europe globally to build what you're building? Traction. What KPIs can you show to prove, in particular, growth, product market fit, and fundraising success? And then the ask, how much are you raising and what's the round size? That's kind of the typical questions you need to ask. I suggest we now in this workshop focus on the left side, customer value proposition, future vision, market and monetization. We will not have time for the right side, but these are the questions you typically need to be able to answer. Okay, any questions on the overall setup before we start with customer value proposition?
Yeah, I actually have a question myself on this. You have market, but what about competition? Because of course in Web3, competition is always a big question, because as you probably know, Web3, you can just copy the code. It's very easy. It's all code based. So how do you think about competition and what particularly what startups can do, how they can best differentiate in early phases especially when code is so easy copied?
Yeah, a very good question. This is covered in the competition is covered in the section market. Okay. We have now lumped this into the revenue side, because you could argue if you have a lot of competition, you will not get the revenue as you will without. But indeed, one could argue that you say you need to show revenue, your revenue potential, profitability potential, and then competition. Investors in particular care about that you do not have a very well-financed VC, well-financed competitor in close regional proximity. So, having some competitors globally, of course, is always good. No competition, no market. Yeah? But if you have, in particular in regional proximity or very, very close to your space competitors, which are already more advanced, this is very fast a problem.
Cool. I'm excited to hear more about that. I think no other questions are coming in at this point, so we can go ahead.
Okay, cool. Good. Let's talk about customer value proposition first. This is when we invest here at Techstars Berlin, that's the first question I always ask founders. And it's super easy to ask. It's brutally hard to answer in the early phases, because of course you're pivoting, you're shifting, you're validating ideas, but it's extremely crucial to be crystal clear on your customer value proposition. Okay. And here is how it works. So the customer value proposition is, why should your customers buy from you? Yeah, it's the reason why customers buy from you. And it's a basis for even a conversion driving landing page, more on the B2C side, or a convincing B2B sales pitch. A customer value proposition, there are thousands of ways as well. The web is full of it, but in the essence, you need to know three things. First, who is your target customer as precisely as possible? Two, what is their unmet need? So why? And then the features of services, the what are you buying to solve that need? Who, why, what? Ideally written down in a clear sentence. If you can do this, you have already almost cracked the customer value proposition net. Okay, so here's an example. Shopify. We help online merchants, that's the target group, the who, to sell online easier and more. That's the key unmet need, the why. And here are the features and services, by enabling them to create their platform to sell to anyone, anywhere, execute digital marketing campaigns, and manage their shop with a single dashboard. Relatively clear customers, could be more precise, we talk about this. Relatively clear unmet need and clear features. Yeah, that's the example of Shopify. Then they put this on the top of their website, one platform with all the e-commerce and point of sales features you need to start, run, and grow your business. And then they have the 3 features: sell everywhere, that's the one platform; market your business, take the guesswork out of marketing with built-in tools; and then manage everything with a single dashboard. I have seen as well many Web3 companies doing this very well. I have seen as well several Web3 companies not doing this well, believing that you don't need it. You definitely need it in this fundraising environment, as well as Web3 company, to be extremely clear on your customer value proposition. Another example, Evernote. Accomplish more with better notes. Evernote helps you capture ideas and find them fast. That's the unmet need at the top. And then 4 features: work anywhere, keep important info handy by syncing all your notes to all your devices. 2, capture what matters with text, images, audio, scans, etc. Your notes your way, express yourself with formatting tools, and find things fast. Get what you need when you need it. Search gives you results as you type. Unmet need at the top, 4 clear features. Evernote. Okay, now let's talk about this different element of this value proposition: who, why, what. And I'm seeing often a couple of errors. I'll just comment on the errors as we go along. So the first error is not being precise enough on the who, on your customer. The customer definition ideally is so sharp that you are able to imagine you have a room full with 1,000 potential customers. What are the 5 to 7 questions you need to ask to boil down this room of 1,000 customers to 50? Yeah. Here is an example of business.com. They say their top level customer definition is SMBs that had shorter sales cycle products and services, things that didn't need much research before purchase. That's their first definition. Then they dig deeper. SMBs in a product or service category with a high page traffic and a sufficient number of existing sellers already buying advertising on Google and are a top 10 advertiser on Google. And then even deeper, they also need to have a person responsible for digital acquisition. They need to measure results from campaign to gauge ROI and to monetarily incentivize the individuals in the company. Yeah, so this is a very precise definition of whom you sell to. Of course, you cannot get this done at the beginning. You're validating, you're talking to customers, you figure this out on the go, but it's certainly not enough to say, hey, I'm a Web3 company and I sell to global SMEs. It's certainly not enough. The more precise you can be on the who, the more easy you will sell and the more easy you get funds. This is who. Let's talk about the why. Now, there are typical unmet needs you address. Often startups confuse unmet needs with features. Unmet needs are often for the B2B side: save costs, save time and hassle, increase customer experience, reduce business risk, and increase revenue. Almost always, the unmet needs of a B2B customer falls in these 5 buckets. Now in the crisis, in particular, if you can choose, saving costs is great because currently everybody needs to save costs. So if you want to increase your chances of fundraising success and you can say, hey, I save costs for my customers, you might be perceived as a crisis investment opportunity. Yeah, because an investor will then think, okay, interesting, there is now a recession. Your customer, your business customers need to save costs. Hence, you offer a solution for them, and this is good in the crisis. B2C is a bit more complex. So Bain & Company has developed this nice pyramid of needs. There are functional elements of functional unmet needs, such as making money, reducing risk, reducing costs, avoiding hassle. There are emotional elements for B2C customers: fun, therapeutic value, rewards me, badge value. There are even some life-changing unmet needs: heirloom, hope, and then even some social impact needs. Yeah, so if you're in the B2C space, you need to choose often from these. Again, it's usually 1 or 2 key unmet needs which you are solving, not 5. It's very easy to create a list of 5. It's difficult to nail down the 1 to 2 you definitely solve. Okay, Here is an example of a couple of Texas companies, how they phrased it. This is Codex AI. This is an AI company which helps company, and I'm reading it here. Codex AI helps big corporations that apply AI at scale, identify and manage their AI risks efficiently. Okay, so big corporations that apply AI at scale is the customer. Key unmet need, identify and manage their risks, AI risks efficiently. And here are the features by providing first an automated analysis of their code base, two, a process tool with integrated risk frameworks to apply, and three, AI regulatory reporting at a click. Yeah, so this is three relatively clear features, key target group, a customer group, and the unmet need they address. Optimo, another Texas company. For manufacturing SMEs, Optimo boosts blue-collar employee retention and productivity. Manufacturing SMEs is the customer target group, still a bit broad. Boosting blue-collar employee retention and productivity is the key unmet need. Features, by delivering real-time skills and competence tracking, peer-to-peer training between experienced and young workers, and a coin-based gamification system. Yeah, another relatively clear customer value proposition case. Synthara, deep tech. We support smart sensor and edge device producers, boosting the quality of portable smart devices by designing co-processors that deliver server-level performance in a mobile chip with up to 500x more energy efficiency and the ability to add them to countless use cases. Yeah, sensor and edge device producers, customers, boosting quality of portable smart devices are the key unmet needs, and then their features are server-level performance on a mobile chip, 500 times more energy efficiency, and the ability to adapt to countless use cases. Okay, this is the playbook, how to do this. Yeah, if you want to create your customer value proposition, please think about who, your target customer, why, 1 to 2 key unmet needs, 1 to 2, not 3, and then 3 to 4 unique features that address this need. Who, why, what? Okay, we would like to give you now 5 minutes, 5 to 7 maybe, in thinking for your companies on your customer value proposition according to this playbook. And if you then possibly shoot it in the Slack or in the Telegram group, and Rafa reads it out and we refine it a bit together. Does this make sense, Rafa?
Sorry. Yeah, it makes sense to me. So for everybody viewing this, so now it's a task for you, as Martin just explained, that you think about your startup and the who, why, and what, and then post it in the chat, and we give you about how long? 5 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 7, maybe until 6:40 my time, so in 7 minutes. And, don't know which time zones you all are.
Cool. And then I think just get started, everybody.
Exactly.
Now, don't have like a nice music or something we could play while people are doing this. And if you already have it sooner, or maybe you have worked on this before, you can also post it right away. So you don't have to wait till the 5 minutes are up, right?
Exactly. So let me just actually paste here the questions again.
Hold on. Getting the first people to type something. Okay, Martin, are you ready? Maybe I paste it in the chat
Yeah, that will be super.
easier see it. So we have sellers to start with. So I can share what Sellers has written, and they, by the way, are one of our community's choice finalists. So we're currently voting on 10 finalists that will together receive 25K, and they're one of them. So Sellers is a conversation first community, Spotify for conversations. We turn your Twitter spaces, town halls, Ask Me Anythings, podcasts, and live streams in an interactive playlist everyone can consume. We help communities in 3 ways. First, we turn conversations into marketing. Second, we turn conversations into engagement. Third, we turn conversations into community. Sellers automates the transcription and transformation of your content into video, audio, text formats so it can be consumed and shared quickly.
Okay, maybe Rafa, suggestion. Maybe everybody who's listening now, maybe you can quickly give feedback to Sellers and just what you heard now. Who, why, what? What would you suggest to improve? And then I'm happy to comment on this.
Hold on, let's see. Does anybody have feedback for Sellers?
Maybe they're still working on kind of their own. Okay, why don't I do a start here? So this is a good example. So first, I think this is already relatively precise. How can this be taken to the next level? So it sounds like, Rafa, you know it better than I do, right? So we can talk about it together. It sounds like this is the customers are communities, right? So we help communities in 3 ways. It's a conversation, it's community platform. Okay.
So, for example, after this call, what Greg, he's the founder of Sellers, he often actually puts these workshops or these calls we put in a whole transcript. So basically, people that don't want to watch the whole video but just quickly screen over it can read it. Or sometimes we as a team forget to record, and Sellers always does that automatically. So it is actually quite helpful and in that sense.
Super. So now we could think, what if we imagine 1,000 communities globally, what are the 5 to 7 questions we need to ask to boil them down? So is this now Web3 communities? Is this kind of, still would be probably too broad, is this more communities that look for revenue generation opportunities, or communities that are in a certain vertical? So that's probably the first approach to make it a bit more sharp. Do you know it, Rafa?
I think they're going for Web3 communities.
Okay, which is still broad, right? We could say, is this more a DAO? Is this more a DeFi oriented? So, there needs, ideally you are specific, it can be more, of course, but to be clear who the customer is, it's called, it's a conversation, maybe this communities with a conversation. Yeah, but every community has some conversation focus. So this is not yet completely clear. So who is the exact customer? So that's 1. Then 2, it's probably not totally clear what's the key unmet need here. So are we talking here about communities commercial communities that want to create revenues? Or is it engagement?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, Zealous is still very early stage, so I think Greg is also still kind of testing the water, seeing what sticks, and that's at least what I understand.
So, when I would be Greg, I would now go out and talk at least to 20 to 30, at least, better 50 communities and ask them exactly about the problem we are solving. So is this, and what's their specific unmet need? So is this now creating more engagement? Is it now creating more revenues? Is it saving costs with marketing? So what's the key unmet need? That needs to be because we see here in this value proposition, it's very activity driven. We turn your Twitter spaces into an interactive playlist. We help communities. This is the key unmet need, the problem is not very obvious.
Mhm.
Right? So that's missing here, and this is a key component of this value proposition.
Mhm.
And then
That's
the
interesting.
features, we help communities in 3 ways. Some features are missing. We turn conversations into marketing. This is not a feature. We turn conversations into engagement, neither a feature. We turn conversation into community. This is all no real features, but Silas automates the transcription and transformation of your content. This is a feature. So you could say, well, how do we create more revenues or more engagement in our communities? First, we automate the transcription and transformation of your content into video, audio, and text formats. 2, we offer easy ways to share them in your networks via XYZ. And 3, we offer an on top feature to manage this community or manage the content or provide some kind of content platform. Yeah. So there is some feature elements, but it probably can be, in particular, in the middle part, it can be sharpened.
Cool. Very interesting. Thanks a lot. So I think I'm going to give you next a bit of a challenging one. Because as you said, the B2C ones are more challenging.
Yeah, they
right?
are.
Because and especially, to be honest, actually the NFT. So I'm going to give you now a very challenging NFT one. Like it's a new NFT drop that I'm actually excited about. But you know, NFT drops, they have very obviously meet a very interesting set of needs, right?
Mhm.
Fun, speculation, you know, a mix of all of these things. So hold on, let me bring it up. Where is it? And here is here's the pitch. And what you should know, I don't know, are you a comic fan, Martin?
A little bit, yeah.
So Cometh is building basically a comic NFT, and they, you know, I'm not a comic fan, I didn't know this, but they have gotten so many fans and community members because I think those people who are into comics. There's such a big fan base, and so they really like, I don't know, actually I forgot how many people they have in their Discord now, but it's really, they gotten such an overwhelming response of fans wanting to join this. I was for me it was surprising because I'm not into this world. So I think the NFT drop will be very, very interesting. They also have already raised money from VCs for this. Yeah, so let's see what you say about this one. Sorry, there's some letters kind of got
No problem. Okay, so let's again use our playbook. Okay, so Cometh is a Web3 comics publishing platform providing native Web3 tools designed for comic creators, IP owners, and comic publishers. So this likely are the customers.
Yeah.
Comic creators, IP owners, and comic publishers.
Yeah.
Here, one could try to narrow this down further. Same discussion as before with sellers. Ideally, you say something like, we are for comic creators. So IP owners is probably too broad, right? It's probably the IP owners, I guess, related to comics, right? Possibly comic creators and comic publishers. The publishers own the IP, usually, I would suggest, or possibly. So you could then say, okay, who publish digital comics from between or starting from 20 comics a year to 500 comics a year. So it's some kind of more precise definition of your target group. So, which is already almost here, right? Comic creators and comic publishers, that's very likely the group. Now the question is, what is the unmet needs? So connecting, helping them to publish and connect them with their community is more the feature. The unmet needs seems to be missing. Is this something about creating additional revenue streams? That could be one direction. Is it about saving costs? So I'm using now the Web3 infrastructure, and don't have to invent my own IP stuff? Is it about managing business risks, which means I'm less prone to copying? It's very important to talk to the creators and the publishers to figure out what's the key unmet needs. And it might be that this is this, Rafa, you might know this. Is this an two-sided marketplace, publisher and creators?
I think that's the plan. I think they're launching like a classic NFT drop, but then it's really the plan to build a marketplace.
Okay, because if you have marketplaces or these two-sided businesses, you need value propositions, a very classical thing on both sides. It might be that the comic creators rather care about additional revenue streams or IP protection, and the comic publisher care about something different, for example, managing their risks or so. And then it's totally fine to develop two types of value propositions.
Yeah.
So, but this key is you need to talk about the key unmet needs. If you sell this to investors but of course to customers, you need to tell them what is the key unmet need I'm addressing. If you go back to the presentation, and Rafa, we can share it after this call. There are for the publisher, this is a B2B case. There are usually only 5 key unmet needs. Okay, and then the features. It sounds like on the blockchain, help them connect with their community, fans and collectors, using our discovery feature. So they talk here about features, but this is not precise enough. So ideally you have for comic creators and comic publishers, we have created a marketplace to help create both parties additional revenue by delivering first a way to connect faster with our community with our new discovery feature. 2, by an ability to mint an NFT on the go. 3, to register the IP on a central blockchain so that it stays protected. You know, so, and that is the feature precision you need for these kind of value propositions.
Yeah, totally makes total sense. I think that the challenge is really to then still get it in one sentence, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for both of them, and I think that maybe is definitely I think something that is through that we see a lot, that the unmet need particularly could be described better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so do you want to move on, or do you want one more?
We can do one more.
One more. Okay. So this is the next one is looks like it's more B2B one. And it's a company called NFD Tools. Not NFT, but NFD Tools.
Okay, so again, our playbook, who, why, what. We are developing first crypto CRM, a service where any person entering crypto or Web3 space can get all the information he needs about activities, about all his projects he follows, and it will also be synchronized with automatic updates and his calendar. This is MVP. Okay, so first, customer, who. A service where any person entering crypto or Web3 space can get. This is probably, again, too broad. You know, any person entering crypto or Web3, imagine you have a room with 1,000 potential customers. What are the 5 to 7 questions to narrow this down? Is this now a person? It sounds like a B2B customer. Yeah. So it's probably not any person, but it's any freelancer, any SME.
Although I think he means really like you as an individual trader. I think that's how I understand it.
Okay, cool.
That's how I understood it, or because you want to see all of the activities of your of the projects you're following and what's happening there, and yeah.
Perfect. You know, then it's that if it's trader, even better, trader of X. You know, trader of X in the range of A and B. So as precise as possible. Again, customer validation. You need to talk to at least 20, better 50 customers to really understand them and be able to narrow this down. That's the first. 2, what's the unmet need? This is not really clear the problem we are solving.
I mean, I guess this is maybe something that Web3 people just know. It's incredibly hard to stay on top of everything that's happening, you know, because I guess it's always as a trader, but in Web3, it's just, you always have to follow everything every day. And the more communities you're in, the harder it gets. So I guess, but I mean, they could make it more clear that this is the problem.
Exactly, Rafa. And again, to what end? So if it's a trader, is this a person who does this for profit, right? It's a for-profit trader, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then we need to think about the unmet need of a trader. So is this information, do you need this to get more yield due to better information? Is it to manage your risks better? That's probably the two ways of framing it here. And you need to talk to traders, kind of the colleagues, who are the founders here?
So like a lot of people in our community are anonymous.
Okay.
So this founder is called Leo Research.
Okay, Leo Research. Okay, so that's then you would need to understand the unmet needs of. So the key problem traders need to solve, which could be higher yields again, and could be better management of risks, could be both. And then so you could say we are developing the first crypto CRM for Web3 traders. In order to help them boost their yields while managing their trading risks by delivering first a flow, a feed of all the activities you have, to an automatically synchronized updates with your calendar, and 3 XYZ. Yeah. So again, trader unmet need features. Yeah. Cool. Same topic here. It's very interesting. You're right. That's the pattern we're now seeing. The unmet need is missing, right? And for a trader, again, it's yield. It's easy to think about features and activity. It's harder to think about what problem you solve, and that make it stronger. And then you can put this on your website, on your pitch deck. It makes it stronger.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good takeaway that we should also bring about at the end and highlight for the people that want to watch the recording of this. Because to be honest, I pulled up just 3, but I saw it in the other ones as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, super. By the way, if you want to distribute my email address and someone wants to send me more, I'm happy to answer more.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
As I'm not anonymous, but then you need to reveal who you are.
Yeah, that's the thing about NFT communities, right? Actually, here at CPG, it's a bit unique that all of the team members we're all docs. That means we're all out there with our real names, which is unusual. But many people in the community are, of course, like choosing to be Web3 native, or as we call it, degens.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Why not? Okay. Let me just go on with the next topic. Okay. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, super. All right. So customer value proposition. Again, I cannot re-emphasize it enough. If you're doing fundraising, one of the first questions many investors will ask you, hey, what's your customer value proposition? Or tell me why should I buy from you? This is it's one typical starter question. A second very, very important topic is your future vision. You as a founder, you need to be able to draft a new picture, an inspiring picture of the future. So I often ask founders, hey, imagine it's Christmas or winter 2027 in 5 years' time. Where do you stand? And that's a question in terms of your future vision. How do you see the world in 5 to 10 years? How will the world be different when you succeed? Okay. There are 2 important elements of this future vision. The one is purpose, and the other is your business ambition. So purpose. Here are some examples of good purpose statements. Google, organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. Nike, bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you're an athlete. Uber, transportation as reliable as running water, everywhere for everyone. And Stripe, empower everyone to participate and thrive in the economy. And then they say as a footnote, we're empowering the electrician to send invoices, setting up the food truck with a delivery option, etc. Why are these good purpose statements?
well, they're very short and clear. Like I love all of them.
That's one. Yeah. Clarity. Maybe someone else from the community has an idea.
I don't see anyone typing right now, so maybe they just think it's yeah, what I said is they agree with me.
Okay. So usually there are three characteristics. So first, they're focused on a timeless societal good beyond your stakeholders. So it's often connected with benefits that reach beyond customers, employees, investors. Second, they are always beyond profit or growth. And third, they're never fully achievable. Yeah, so let's quickly go back. Timeless societal good beyond your stakeholders. That's an error many startups do when you create a purpose, that you focus too much on your customers, like too close to the customer value proposition. Yeah. Think about Google.
Just quickly, actually, now somebody did write something and he said he liked those because they had a purpose beyond just making money.
Yeah,
and exactly. They had this like adding value to society.
Exactly. This is here criteria 1 and 2, right? Purpose is beyond money, beyond profit or growth, and then adding value to society is focused on a timeless societal good. Yeah. And if you think about Google, organize the world's information, make it universally accessible. If you are a father in an Indian mountain village downloading maths exercise for your daughter, the daughter benefits from Google's purpose, but is not a direct customer. Yeah, the purpose reaches beyond the customers and the investors and the employees. It reaches broader into society. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of the key. And there are some obvious examples. If you're working on a climate saving or energy saving project which contributes to climate change, or if you are increasing security or financial inclusion, these are typical topics which you can bring here. Couple of examples, obviously from your space. Ethereum today, billions of people can't open bank accounts. Others have their payments blocked. Ethereum's decentralized finance system never sleeps or discriminates. With just an internet connection, you can send, receive, borrow, earn interest, and even stream funds anywhere in the world. Nice example. Of course, the whole Web3 world is built on the idea of a decentralized world, i.e. we do not longer are dependent of the big tech platforms, but rather do this trustless in a decentralized world that is close to a purpose, which of course a Web3 company always somehow can bring. There are other examples. Synthera, we enable and enrich human senses through hidden intelligence in near body smart devices. So you increase living quality via deep tech. Melanin Capital, another Techstars example, says we are creating a world in which all African entrepreneurs get a fair chance in accessing affordable financing to drive prosperity and sovereignty in their home countries. Yeah, certain degree of financial inclusion targeted to entrepreneurs in order to deliver prosperity and sovereignty. Okay. The purpose is particular for B2C companies relevant because consumers connect to this very well. It's a bit less important to B2B companies. So the trader example we had before is probably a bit less relevant to have a very, very clear purpose. But if your purpose is very clear, you will attract AAA talent. This is very important for an early stage startup. Why should they work with you and not Google? Yeah, of course, you're in the next wave. You're not big tech, blah, blah. That's correct. But Google has a good employee value proposition, high salaries, good reputation, etc. If you have a strong purpose where a AAA candidate can relate to, this is a very powerful magnet for your startup for talents. So how do you go to get the purpose? I would suggest we don't do this now, but you can do it later. Typical question to get to the purpose is the granny test. So what story about you, why you work for your startup would you tell to excite your grandmother during a Sunday afternoon coffee? Yeah, so in a very simple words, why do you do what you're doing? There you should have a purpose. For example, reflecting on myself here at Techstars, I would tell my grandmother something like, hey, Granny, you know you have these two wonderful grandchildren, and at one point they need jobs, well-paid jobs. And I'm working with those pioneers of our time who create the jobs of the futures, who build the industries of the futures, so that, you know, my children, your grandchildren really have good jobs. That would be in an easy way convey the purpose of Techstars. Okay, if you want to do this, you can use one of these two tests, then distill one or two themes, societal goods, so saving the climate, access to knowledge, better healthcare, quality of life, and then formulate one sentence that capture it. You can as well write, some startups do this, write a one-page manifesto and publish it on your website. This often, if you have a strong purpose and you have a good story behind it, this is often, again, a very strong attractor for talent. Any questions on purpose?
Asking to the community, does anybody have any questions on this purpose statement? I think I think with this delay, it's very hard if something is coming or not. I will let you know if somebody's writing something. I think let's just move on for now.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about business ambition. That's another part of your future perspective, how you see the world different, because you need to put your company in this future world. Yeah, so I'm building this decentralized financing infrastructure. I will see the world in 10 years' time different in that area. And now I need to put my company in this world. And this, you often do this with a business ambition. And there is a very small trick how to do this well. So if your company is a rocket ship, your business ambition is your destination. What you need to do this well is to define the category that you aim to lead globally, or at least in your region, and to a certain degree your business outcomes. But the key is you need to invent and or select, often invent, the category you want to globally lead. So here is a couple of examples. Become the #1 wealth creation platform for women in Europe. That could be the category a fintech is inventing, or at least tries to lead. Or Zalando, that's an online merchant for fashion and a bit broader, shoes, etc. In Germany, become Europe's leading online fashion platform with a gross merchandising volume of more than 30 billion euro. Online these days, online fashion platform is nothing special. It's not a very creative category, but 10 years ago it was. This was a new category which Zalando is now co-leading. Okay, again, what's the playbook? Become, usually you say something like the #1 wealth creation platform for women. That's the category with, and here's the business outcomes, with 20 million daily active customers by 2030. The category is the key. I'm often asked startups before we invest, hey, your startup, the global leader of X, what's your X? Easy to ask, pretty difficult to answer. And this exercise helps you to answer this. So how does this work? You need to invent the category which you want to lead. You need to define often 1 to 2 measurable business outcomes. And then you envision the best case scenario for these outcomes in 5 to 10 years. Again, having your category clear, that's the key. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about categories, because there's often a bit confusion in language. There are often three levels of categories. Fintech. I want to build the globally leading fintech. Nobody will believe this, okay? It's far too broad. Level 2, business and banking payments, sustainable investing, back office payment enablers. This would be level 2 categories. I will build the globally leading sustainable investing platform. Nobody will believe it. There's too much competition already out there. But if you go to a third level, even one level deeper, I'm building the globally leading ESG-focused pension platform in Europe, or let's say I'm building Europe's #1 ESG-focused pension platform. Could be something. Or I'm building Europe's #1 interbank settlement solution platform. Or I'm building Europe's #1 instant B2B payment solution. Yeah. So you need to invent a category that's granular enough that investors believe that you could lead this, at least in your region. Here are a couple of examples. Safe Space, Techstars companies. We will be Europe's #1 technology-driven storage and inventory management platform by 2030, saving 2 million square meters of space. Or Impact Bytes. We will be the #1 sustainable product data provider across the web, providing access to over 1 million verified sustainable products and powering over 1 million monthly transactions. Felix, become the #1 floor-to-floor intralogistics provider in Europe by 2030 with over 10K units deployed and 300 million in ARR. Yeah, so these are categories here: floor-to-floor intralogistics provider, sustainable product data provider, technology-driven storage and inventory management platform. These are granular enough that an investor says, okay, yeah, not easy, but possible to lead it for you. Okay, now let's do this together. So let's talk about, in particular, the business ambition, I would suggest. What's the category you want to lead globally? Maybe you can take 5 minutes and put them in the chat, and then we'll give some feedback.
Okay, everybody, you have 5 minutes now. Just post it in the chat what your yeah, how do you call it? Like basically
The category.
category.
The business ambition, i.e., what category do you want to lead globally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here we have a first interesting one, Kalika. Hold on, let me actually first put this in the chat. Now we have the first one is Kalika, and I actually really like their business. Let me see how I post this to Martin so he can follow it as well. So Kalika is enabling on-chain businesses. So on-chain means, of course, blockchain-powered businesses and managing on-chain finances. So this is their category, and what it essentially is, they say you have an on-chain company, it's actually very difficult to make batch payments for employees nowadays. It's also very costly because you have a lot of transaction costs. And then also, with a lot of a lot of companies don't just pay in like a token or a currency, but they also have royalties that employees get or creators get. They have sometimes tokens, or so basically the payment structures in Web3 can be quite wild and varied and very difficult to manage, and many companies do that very manually at the moment. And so that is what Kalika is trying to solve. So they say their category is enabling on-chain businesses by managing on-chain finances.
Okay, so again, I would use the formula we just discussed. Yeah, we are building the Europe's #1 or the globally leading X. So I would always frame it like this. It sounds like, Rafa, is this a payroll? Is it kind of a Web3 payroll solution?
Yeah, it's kind of a payroll solution.
Yeah. So you could then say, we are building the Europe's or globally leading B2B on-chain payroll solution. Yeah, and then you can even specify some transaction, what you want to do until 2030. And I would always do this at the top of the pitch deck. Yeah, so the best pitch decks have this at the title page. Yeah, you say kind of, what's the name of the company again here?
Kalika.
Kalika, building the globally leading B2B on-chain payroll solution.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So now comes another very interesting one. This is actually one of our incubator startups called Dippy. And let's see if you understand what they do if I share. And I'm going to, everybody else can read it in the chat what sort of their category and grand vision is. most people know that already because they are well known in the community. So Dippy says we see ourselves as the go-to Web3 API company that will dominate the Web3 infrastructure and the LATAM market, increase our customers' TAM by giving access to a broader audience, normalize the use of Web3 apps by introducing a familiarized UX, and pioneer in the development of blockchain and artificial intelligence to improve security. It's an equivalent to what Alchemy had done for node deployment, and we will do for OAuth onboarding in Web3.
Okay, this sounds already both like a business ambition and a customer value proposition. So the business ambition could be here building LATAM's number one Web3 infrastructure platform, for example. Possibly a bit too broad. This could be level 2 category Web3 infrastructure. Possibly needs to be a bit more precise, a bit more granular. So what do you know, Rafa, what they're doing exactly?
Yeah, so what it is exactly is that if you use Web3 dApps today, you need like a special wallet to log in, then you need to have like cryptocurrency in this wallet. So they will allow you to actually log in with the classic, Google login or Facebook login, but into Web3 dApps, and all of this in a secure way. And that's pretty cool to help normal people because many normal people that aren't in Web3, they just the thought of having to set up a wallet and on-ramp fiat into crypto is already very complicated for many people.
Sounds like a Web3 single sign-on platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's that's probably not the final one, but you could say building LATAM. So this is the region you want to lead. LATAM's number one Web3 single sign-on platform. Yeah, it's a good example here. Web3 infrastructure is, that's level 2. We are building the globally leading Web3 company. Nobody will believe it. We will build the globally leading Web3 infrastructure. It's probably too broad. What is Web3 infrastructure? If you're saying we are building LATAM's number one Web3 single sign-on platform, interesting. That's part of the infrastructure possibly, and credible enough that you can lead it.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. I think that will definitely help them. Although they actually, to be honest, Dippy, for some reason, like everybody gets it and people love it already. They get a lot of they get so much inbound interest because
that's nice.
It's really a big problem in Web3. So sometimes, sometimes, I guess with the right product, you will find the customers will find you also sometimes.
100%, but I would always argue this is about, at the beginning of the presentation, odds of entrepreneurial success, odds of fundraising success. Absolutely. Of course, you can get fundraising with a very shitty pitch decks, no question. But the clearer you are in the direction, the higher the probability that you get good fundraising. And of course, it's nice not only have one term sheet, but 5. And then you let the VCs compete with each other.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're doing this. If you as a founder are so clear on your North Star and your direction, this conveys something on you as a founder. So investors will be then, blown away because your ability to communicate with absolute clarity is just something very inspiring for investors and for your customers, of course.
Totally. Cool. Do you want one more or do you want to move on?
One more, maybe?
One more? Okay. So the next one is GiftPact. So they say we want to be the technology company that onboards the non-profit industry to Web3. We want to use revenue generated from our tools to fund an ecosystem of giving and advocacy. We want to be a major player in the disruption of philanthropy via crypto.
That's interesting. So here you could say same formula, right? Building the global number one. What is it? Is it a Web3 philanthropy platform, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, in Web 2, all of these like just giving all of these kind of platforms, right, where you can
Yeah.
raise
Yeah.
donations for charities. So, but none of them actually allows any crypto at the moment.
Yeah, nice. So, okay, you're saying then this is more like an donation, a Web3 enabling donation platform, something like this?
I think so. But I think that's actually a good question. I don't know if they go via like a two-sided marketplace or if it's just for the charities. I'm actually not sure about that.
So because it sounds like here it could even be you
Yeah.
are you're creating a platform so that you can accept, for example, Bitcoin for good cause, or
Mhm.
it's about you have some revenues which you channel to. This is now a customer value proposition question, but
Mhm.
no, same topic here. We want to be a major player in the disruption. Nice, but even better, we want to be the global leading, platform for crypto philanthropy, something like this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. One needs to be very careful here in these cases. Many investors want to stay very far away from nonprofits.
Mhm.
However, there is a certain type of investors, in particular the social impact investors, who are drawn to this. So you
Mhm.
will need to select the investors you talk to here quite
Yeah.
diligently.
Yeah, and I think GivePact has found that sort of the classic VCs are not interested in this model, and that they have to target it more towards angels, family offices, and impact
Yeah,
investors.
exactly. But this is a growing market for, in particular, the impact investors, probably, probably discussed it, but they have as well financial, you need to as well convey that you want to build a very fast moving and high growth company.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you're following a very clear defined purpose, which often needs to match the social, the nation's development goals.
Mhm.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yep.
Or one more? What shall
I
we move
think
on?
let's move on. Yeah.
Let's move on. Okay, good. Next topic is around market and monetization. This is now particularly in the crisis, really key. Okay. I'm seeing many, many pitch decks, and one of the key errors is you do not talk enough about market and monetization. We cannot stress this over and over again in the crisis. Investors, when you pitch, need to see dollar signs in your eyes. Many founders are very driven by their product and passionate about it, which is totally great. But in particular, now in the crisis, you need to convey almost from the first seconds that this is an investment opportunity that will make you and me rich. Yeah, this is about money, not about making customers happy or building a product driven company. It's all nice. An investor needs to give back to their investors a return. And if you do not talk about this and be very clear how you do this, they will not give you money. Okay, two big questions in terms of how to convince investors that you will give them back their big returns. First, revenues. Second, unit economics. On the revenue side, what is your path to 70 to 100 million annually recurring revenue in 7 to 9 years without capturing more than 10% of the market? Why is this relevant? So first, and this is now a bit more Web 2, but it spills into Web 3 as well. You want to convey you're not only doing 10, 20 million revenue, you want to go in big with 70 to 100 because there is often a revenue multiple applied at one point at your company, which will drive your valuation. If investors know if a multiple is 10 and you're earning 100 million annual recurring revenues, then you get to a unicorn valuation of 1 billion. That's usually why you need to come into the range of 70 to 100 million in 7 to 9 years. Why 7 to 9 years? Because most funds are paid back within 10 years. So there's a certain time frame where you need to do this. Why not more than 10% of the market? Because investors hate it if you tell them, hey, I need to capture 50% of the market, because that's extremely unusual and unrealistic. This is why this question is a good one. Very important, I would put in a pitch deck a revenue projection, which ideally is conservative in the short term, but ambitious in the long term. Why that? Because conservative, you will be measured towards your plans and your targets. So if you tell an investor next year, I will do 1 million revenue, you might encounter her or him again next year, and he or she will ask you, hey, what about your 1 million revenue plan? So you'd rather do this conservatively in the short term, but ambitious in the long term to convey a unicorn founder mindset. And then, Rafa, you asked this at the beginning. Competition as well matters. You need to understand the market dynamic, at least how you are different in terms of your value proposition to competitors. Now, the second part of the equation is unit economics. Unit economics just means profitability on a per unit basis. Investors love to invest in business models that have strong unit economics, which usually means you have very strong contribution margins, i.e. profits, with low customer acquisition costs. So any model where an additional customer creates relatively little costs while giving you a lot of revenue is attractive. So think about Salesforce. They have the Salesforce platform. Onboarding one additional customer is very cheap. It's just a little bit of computing power more, but the software is there. But the revenue are easily 500 to 1,000 euros a year. Very attractive from a unit economics perspective. So that's why any hardware play or any of these topics are difficult. And in the Web3 place, one needs as well to talk about the unit economics. I know there are some different dynamics ongoing, in particular with tokenomics you need to put in place, but the logic is to a certain degree comparable. Okay, let me jump over this. So how do you make sure that investors believe that you create a lot of revenues? First, you should be very clear on your revenue streams. What are the different streams, how you earn money, and what are the drivers behind it? Usually you need a financial model. There's a bit of a discussion when you need a financial model. We always recommend even pre-seed teams to have a thought through financial model, because imagine you have a conversation with an investor or an angel, and he or she says, hey, I'm interested. And then you say casually at the end of the call, hey, look, I will just forward you the link to my data room. And then in the data room, you have your model, your pitch deck, some of the contracts you have, your product roadmap, the product vision. So it's completely thought through. There's a one-pager. So there's some customer testimonials. The investor will just be blown away that even in the pre-seed phase, you've really, really thought it through, which then often enables and triggers something in the investor say, okay, interesting, then I don't have to dig so much if they've already thought about this so much. Then it's very important when you talk about revenues, not to do a top-down market assessment, but a bottom-up calculation. Top-down is something like, hey, there is this study that shows me that in the Web3 infrastructure space, the market will be 10 billion in the next 10 years. This almost always says nothing, and investors will ignore it. Yeah. What you need to do is you need to identify the customers, the number of customers you potentially can reach, and multiply this with the price you can charge them. Yeah, that's why we discussed before on the whom you sell to, why this is so important, so that you can roughly assess the number of customers you have. There are multiple discussions. There's no one size fits all answer. Often markets shift and you don't know it yet. Amazon started with books and now it's far broader. That's all true. But the more you are able to do a precise bottom-up calculation, the better it is for you. This applies as well for the competitors. We discussed it. To be able to show how you're different from the competitors is really key. Okay, let me jump over this. You can look at this. Let me quickly talk about, because Rafa mentioned it, competitor analysis. There are a lot of 2x2 crazy competitor analysis slides, something like this. This is not very helpful. These 2x2s, enterprise grade, SMB grade, file management, digital negotiation platform, that's not how it works. What you often need is something like this. You have as columns your competitors, ideally clustered by competitor types. And then you have one column with your company. This is Patent Plus and Texas company. And then in the rows, you have features. It's very important. These are features, private information or direct user interaction. You have prior art search, etc. And then you have a slide where you only show on your end only tick marks. This is not enough on your market understanding, but it's a good basis to start. And ideally, you can talk as well about how the other customers or the other competitors play out, why you're targeting this type of customers, etc. But this is usually a good starting point. Let's quickly talk about unit economics. Unit economics are, if you can do it, ideally calculated on customer lifetime value and customer acquisition costs. Very important. Customer lifetime value is not revenue based, but profit based. So many startups confuse this and use revenue, but it's profit. You need to be able to show to investors, hey, I'm acquiring my business customer. We talked about Web3 infrastructure. It costs me 1,000 euros to acquire one. And this customer delivers to me a lifetime profit on average about 5,000 euros. Then the ratio between lifetime value and customer acquisition cost would be 5, right? 5,000 profit, 1,000 costs. It's an attractive ratio. Investors care often in the later phases for LTV over CAC between 3 and 10. In the earlier phases, you should have around something like 5 and 12. Yeah, so if you can do this, if you can show that you have thought about this, this is amazing. You can only do this if you have a financial model in the background. Okay, last thing on revenues, you should be able to tell what is your business model, i.e. your revenue streams. Usually there are 15 types of business models. There is a book, Dave Parker has written about this. In this presentation, you find his book. Fee for service, B2B subscription, productized and enterprise service, in-app sales, usage-based SaaS, token-driven combinations. Of course, many of you will have tokens, but there might be as well some Web 2 elements in it. And being very clear on what revenue streams you are driving is often very, very helpful. Here is a good example of one of our Techstars companies. So you see here a revenue projection, which is relatively modest, I would say, at the short term, which is not true. 1.8 million, 10 million is ambitious, and then probably too ambitious in the long term here. But you're seeing a different revenue streams here. So this is a fintech, so an embedded finance solution for the car industry. They have SaaS subscription for service, one revenue stream, fee for car financing deal, second revenue stream, fee for insurance deal, third revenue stream, and fee for B2B car inventory financing. Yeah, 4 revenue streams. So an investor would think, interesting, they diversify the revenues. They've thought about it very clearly. If one breaks away, the others might still be there. Yeah, a good way of depicting your different revenue streams. Okay, this is already it from market and monetization. Any questions? Rafa, you muted.
Sorry. Well, actually, we had one other one coming in who said like, oh, she would really like you to give her feedback on her category. So we can do that, and in the meantime, people can let me know if they have any questions around the market and monetization slides and points Martin just showed. But yeah, maybe we can quickly in the meantime do Jess's. So because it's also a very interesting one. She is rewilding degraded land to become the largest global network of community-owned game reserves through fractional ownership, using of course blockchain technology.
Yeah, so this already captures almost the formula we have, right? So building the globally largest network of community-owned game reserves through fractional ownership. That's actually quite good. So this is probably in the L3 category. Yeah, so it's in the area of community-owned assets. And you say here it's community-owned game reserves through fractional ownership. I'm wondering if it's not probably even too specific and too small. Gigabytes game reserves. What's the background here?
Owned game reserves. Well, I think it's too. yeah, making sure endangered species are repopulated in those areas, and doing it through community ownership, right?
Yeah.
You know, all of these DAOs, there are a lot of DAOs, and Web3, that the most famous one is the Constitutional DAO, right? That came together, raised 40 million to potentially buy the constitution, so it wouldn't be owned by just one billionaire. But she says maybe instead of game reserves, maybe what would be better is the terms. So this is Jess Harris, the founder. She says instead of game reserves, maybe wildlife reserves would be the better term.
Wildlife reserves. Yeah, that's could be a bit. It's not. It depends a bit, right? So it could be that this is animal. This is the global community of people who really care about animals and diversity of species. It could be the right one. It's just it needs to be explored. If this is a large enough community with enough monetization, we talk here always about how to get funding for it, right? So if there could be an argument in saying, hey, I am organizing globally people who want to contribute that we remain a diverse planet in terms of species and animals, and I'm organizing everybody who wants to do this fractional ownership. This could be a strong go-to-market because there are very probably a lot of Web2 communities which you can possibly draw into Web3 and then monetize this. It's very important. It's really bridge to monetization here, right? If you as an investor read this, you would immediately think, interesting, there could be something, but there is a risk that this is a founding team which just cares about animals. In particular case, you would then need to talk to the investors. Almost, you would have a short hook that species are key, and this is our future vision. We imagine a planet where we have a diversity of species, but almost after 30 seconds, you need to talk why this will make the investor rich. Something like, okay, there is this huge community to talk about markets. What's the prices you want to charge, your revenue streams, that this will just make you rich. This is often counterintuitive for someone who really, really has a strong purpose and cares for this. But I've seen this over and over again. If we have a lot of purpose-driven founders and not talk about enough of this, they struggle to get funding. Yeah. Again, a good case for social impact investors. It's a very clear relation in the business purpose to the United Nations Development Goals. This would be a very good case, at least for the social impact investors.
Yeah.
But a great idea, very, very strong. It looks very, very sharp.
Yeah. And hold on, she is typing something, so I just wait what she's typing. I always see these 3 dots when someone is typing with their name. So
next time I'll join the Telegram group and do this directly.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So she says just great advice. Thanks, Martin and Raf.
Yeah, no, big pleasure. It's kind of, yeah. And by the way, if someone wants to reach out to me, again, you need to reveal who you are possibly, but happy to give some individual advice as well. And Rafa, we can even do some office hours also if you want.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so in the meantime, no question has come in on the market. So maybe that was quite clear.
Yeah, and it's often you cannot solve it so interactively, and just saying, really making sure that this is a crisis. I have many investors who tell me we do not invest currently at all, angels in particular. On the other hand, we have fully kind of funds which have soaked themselves with money and need to deploy the money, which is cool for the earlier stages. But investors do take longer and do make stronger due diligence, and it's really key to be very, very clear on monetization and market. There's often a lot of passion for a great new future and a great product, but market is often forgotten. So this is why that's really key. Maybe just to round it up quickly. So if you wanna connect to me on LinkedIn if you want to reveal yourself. You can do this. And as well, if you're interested in reading a bit deeper, there is a book on this, what we've just discussed, The Builder's Guide to the Tech Galaxy. So I've written this book with 13 authors. By the way, next time I'm thinking about the edition 2, and I will possibly do this as a DAO or so. So as well,
Cool.
part of the Web3 community, possibly. So if you want to look at this, we have written one chapter of the book on the North Star, which you've just heard. It's a bit targeted a bit more to later stage startups. This is now a bit more the earlier one. But if you're interested, please feel free to look at this. And yeah, I'm more than happy to take some more questions, or as well, happy to do some office hours or connect to a later point.
Cool. So people basically can connect best via LinkedIn, and you shared the QR code here, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Rafa, you can as well, if you want to send around the presentation.
Yeah, normally people would love that, and that it also obviously helps them to look at the video later on. Yeah, let me know if there's any questions now. Otherwise, yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I definitely learned something myself. I think, you do know all of the stuff, but you kind of forget it again and again. It's like one of these things that somehow are so intuitive and yet they aren't, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's also different knowing it in practice and then having it to do it, like knowing it in theory and then having to do it in practice for your own startup. Especially, I think actually in Web3, it's a bit harder because a lot of the things aren't so well proven, and it's sometimes harder to, like what we saw earlier, right? So what is the actual pain point, the unmet need that we're solving, especially like for NFTs sometimes. But I think thank you so much for explaining that. I think that made a lot of sense, and even for us, futuristic Web3 people.
Yeah, and it's the concepts itself are relatively easy, right? To ask the question, it's very, very easy, but to give a really good answer is very hard. And I'm seeing this as well here at Techstars. We are partly doing this over and over again. I'm doing this workshop at the beginning of the batch, in the middle, and almost sometimes at the end again. Because if you pivot, you need to rethink it, right? If you have a product, you need to rethink many things. So I can just say it, it's so powerful if you're able to craft a very clear North Star in your communication. It's so powerful for investors, it's powerful for your customer, and it's really powerful for your people, for your team. So yeah, I'm very excited about this, and I hope it helped.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I think those examples we had, it definitely helped them. And I'm sure more people that will watch it will be able to, make something out of this. So yeah, thank you so much for joining today. We really appreciated your time and, making the effort for our community. So thank you so much.
Big pleasure, Rafael. Happy to do it anytime again.
Yeah, so just send me the slides. You have my details, right? And I'll be sharing it. And then, in a few days, I get back to you with, letting you know what people said afterwards, how many people watched it. And and then hopefully maybe next time we can invite you to one of our events at Art Basel or NFT NYC or whoever.
Happy to do it. Okay. Have a
Cool.
great time, great day. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.